3, 2, 1. We are on like that. Thanks for coming in, brother.
No worries, my man.
So good to have you. Like I said to you before, I put up this post about who I should get on, who's Dunedin based, and a lot of people put you forward. So we're about to find out exactly why that is.
Yeah. Why on earth did I suggest that?
But I just need to say, like, as in terms of us trying to come up and starting a podcast, it's really hard to, like, you've probably seen it a lot with the posts that we're doing. Heaps of it is like, what do you guys think? And you're like consistently writing back, you're giving us feedback, and you're also in the Facebook group as well. Sick Ass Podcast, by the way, on Facebook. Yep. Go in there and you're getting amongst that stuff as well. So it's like I'm getting a genuine reaction from someone. Yep. And it's someone that I've known for a very long time. So like I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much
mate,
for
no
all
worries.
of that.
No, I love it. Yeah, love the fact that you guys have developed a platform and the many different branches you have doing it and interacting with your audience so much. And that's the thing. Like you've got to have people reacting and interacting. So I'm always just like, I'll give my 2 cents and hopefully it's useful. Yeah, no, it's always good, and it gives us something to think about. Like, it's not always rubbing us on the back. It's just like, have you thought about this as well? And then just a whole bunch of things. Like, it's positive because it actually makes us feel like we've reached someone. And so, like, as long as we can reach one person, I know there's more people, but like to have that tangible feedback, it's always good. So today's guest is the man, Mr. Ben Sorensen. Thank you so much for your time. And I was thinking about this earlier, and I was just like, if I could describe you, I'd say this guy just has an ultimate froth for life. Yeah, that's pretty decent actually. Yeah, on the right day. Yeah, if you ask me like, how are you feeling today, I'd probably say, bloody spectacular.
Exactly.
Like, frothing it.
Yeah. Like every time I see you, whether it be at the gym, whether it just be you walking, you always got, like, there's just a big energy that you throw my way every time.
Mate, if you see me at the gym, it's because my playlist is literally called the Froth Stage, which is like a lockdown birthday thing. But yeah, it's because I am just like frothing through the ears.
Yeah. And actually during lockdown, I think that was when I decided to like reconnect to you, because I started doing that with a bunch of people. And I saw that your birthday was around the time that we were in lockdown, and it was something that I saw, quite a few people doing. But then when you did it, I felt like a very genuine want for people to start doing that, and it was a donation thing. Have you always been one of those people where you just like try to give as much as you can?
Yeah, bro. Like I've donated to so many different causes over like different years, and that's not to blow my own trumpet sort of thing. Like it might just be like $2, $5, but obviously the classic sort of phrase at the moment is like, donate your Friday morning coffee or something like that towards a cause. And that's the thing. It's like, why not do that? Like, one, I don't often go out and buy myself a coffee, that too much, but even if it's donate that $3.50 for a rice ball to, the SPCA or something like that. And especially when it's like something, like my mum was a volunteer for the SPCA at one point and loves it, or donating to what was it, like the wildlife protection trust or something in Aussie, because mum was like over there and went to one of them, helped out with the koalas obviously when they got decimated by the Australian bushfires. Yeah, so it was the same thing, and like especially when it's close to home, I think it makes it a lot easier for people to donate. But like me personally, even when it's not close to home, if you can look at it and be like, look, I'm in a comfortable position and I can help out in some way, like $5 from 100 people adds up to $500.
Exactly.
Like that's a pretty decent contribution to a cause.
Yeah, it's a real different mindset that a lot of people have. Like, I think there are some people who, even though it's something small, they're like, oh, it's not going to make much of a difference. Yeah, but you take a real like, if enough of us do this, it's going to make a huge difference. Yeah,
like, don't get me wrong, I sit there sometimes and I'm like, man, like, I'm donating, maybe $5 a month to this cause. Like, what is it actually doing? Like, maybe like sweet F all, really. But that's the thing, you've just got to think positively. And that's like one thing I try to take, to a lot of things. Just think positive, and then who knows, like, you never know how big the reach is.
Yeah, that's so true. And I mean, just thinking about staying positive, we're in an area, so you and I are kind of like the old guns these days. So like, I think I came down 2013, you've been here since 2014. You've completed 1 degree, and you're into your, like, next year you'll be into your final year. So just for everyone listening to this, and by the time this comes out, this will be a couple of days just before the New Year's antics. So actually, before we get into your journey, what is the plan for New Year's? Because like I said, you are Mr. Froth for life.
Do have a froth for life. So at the moment, moment there's talks of like a sort of Mahia boys trip, like camping sort of thing, to my future flatmate / landlord Alex Wing. Put it as basically we'll load up the car with our body weight in double brown and go and park up in Mahia. The boys will have the boat, whether we get on that or whether we're just parked there in the sun at a beautiful spot, with some good mates and have a good time. Yeah. And like, that's great, doing something cruisy New Year's Eve. I was supposed to be going to Northern Base, but sold that up just because of like different logistical things. And now it's Bay Dreams Todong instead. So anyone going to Bay Dreams, come and say g'day. I'll be wearing a leopard print shirt.
What is the significance of this leopard print shirt?
Oh, like, I love a party shirt. Yeah, not as much as Josh Fallon. But yeah, no, I do love a party shirt. And I mean, you see people dress up at festies and things like that. And it's just good fun, Like, it's just such a great thing, rather than being, the one who turns up like wearing the short shorts and your Adidas Stan Smiths, like looking like the rest of the crowd. Just, wear something that makes you stand out and like makes you feel like, gives you a good laugh, when you just look at yourself in the mirror that morning, you're like, I look like an idiot, but I love it.
Yeah. And do you feel a different type of energy, when Big you have time. That sort of thing?
Oh, mate, honestly, if you're looking in the mirror and you're like, I look like an absolute dickhead, it just gives you, a good giggle, and you're just bound to have a good time. And so is everyone else, around you, because you walk into, your pre-drinks or your pre-party, whatever, and everyone will be like, that is a hell of a shirt, mate. Yeah. And you can just be like, yeah, it is. Yeah,
there we go. And you notice and you bring something, like even if someone laughs, like you've brought a chuckle to that person.
Yeah, exactly.
Just by seeing you.
If they're laughing at you, who cares?
And you brought up Mr. Josh Fallon before, who does love a party shirt and also loves putting Lord of the Rings on and doing 1,000 burpees.
Yeah.
But you guys went to the same school, and I was just wondering, so like if we go back to your high school career, did you have this similar kind of philosophy on life, or has it been something that over years you've kind of developed into?
No, it's definitely been a developmental thing. Yeah. Back at high school, like I definitely like struggled in high school, especially when I first turned up, because my parents like decided to shift us out semi-rurally outside of Palmy North. Sure. So I was at a school with like 70 kids. Oh, so I was like this big brown kid with pretty much all white country kids. And so like in my final year, like again, don't want to blow my own trumpet, but like I was smart, and like I was put ahead, especially when I was still in town at school, normally like sort of 2 years above like the rest of my class. And so I went out to this country school, and then we had this like really lovely but like 23-year-old like teacher who was pretty fresh, and she didn't really know how to handle having students who were advanced compared to the rest of the class. Right. And so in my final year, honestly, I did what I wanted. Like I'd sort of rock up and do the necessary things and sort of hang out and like try and help out in the classroom, help my peers out. And the teachers promoted that, and especially the principal who was just so amazing to me. She promoted that as well. She was like, help out your other students, and she really sort of got me into that attitude of like, just helping out people, and like trying to keep me away from becoming arrogant, I think, in terms of my ability and stuff. Yeah.
So just talking about, because it sounded like before anyone even got on to helping you help others, like seeing that as a good thing that you should continue doing. Why was that just like the innate thing that you felt like I should just do this?
I don't know. I'd say it's probably just an upbringing thing. I think my parents definitely like to help, to help other people, like help their friends out and things like that. They're kind of like, nah, if our good mates need help or are in trouble, like we help them out. Like we've had family friends come and stay with us when they've sort of been like in between houses, kind of thing. They've been like, oh no, we want to like come to a similar life and move out to the country, so they just like came and lived with us. You know? And they're still really good family friends. Like call the mum like our other mother. And it's basically like our extended siblings.
That's so cool.
Yeah, like the young fella, he's same age as my brother. They're best mates. And we just all get along really well. But that, it definitely like is just an upbringing thing, just be nice and help people. And then I'd like to think I try and take that a bit further than my parents as well, because they can also be like pretty stern. Yeah, sure. So, sometimes judgmental people, but everyone can at some point.
Yeah, and then so going through high school and then. Get into high school and then thinking about what you're going to end up doing in the future. So did you come straight from high school into university?
No. So basically through high school, it kind of was like a whole trying to decide what I wanted to do. And then like being in what they call the Accelerate program at Palmy Boys. Like they did put us a year ahead. So like I came in from this country school where I was basically not having to use my brain that much at all to year 9, but doing year 10 work. And that's the thing. I remember being in like my 3rd math class of year 9, and they mentioned Pythagorean theorem, theory. And I was like, what? Like I honestly had absolutely no clue what they were going on about. I didn't know how to spell it. And so I had to like go home and learn this, and my folks were able to explain that to me. But then within about 3 months they were like, oh man, even we're like struggling to remember this stuff. And so it was really, really hard. Like because I basically had to teach myself all of these new things compared to guys who had been to intermediate school and all of that. And then with the social pressure as well, because I knew not a single person at Palmy Boys. And so, but like basically had that as well. So it was like pretty tough, and then just sort of carrying on through. But like it did get so much better, you know, like eventually high school, you do make some friends who are similar-ish to you, and you just carry on through. But then, it was a whole like deciding what I wanted to do basically from like year 10 onwards. You know, it's a classic boys' school sort of attitude where they're kind of like, you know, you guys need to be thinking about your future, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bro, I'm 13. I'm thinking like, what do I want for lunch tomorrow?
Of course.
What do I want for lunch today? Like, hell, it's so hard to think ahead. But I think having that drummed into you, and in a way having that fear in a way, or like kind of anxiety about the future,
it's like what the possibilities could be.
Like, you need to be thinking about this, you need to be thinking about it. It is a good thing. So long as it doesn't actually become anxiety.
Absolutely.
Which for me it definitely does happen sometimes. I get like pretty anxious thinking about the future. Like we were just talking before about like summer jobs and things like that. I always think, oh man, like I'm shifting to a new place or something like that. Like I really need to organize a job so I've got an income and I can pay rent and pay my bills, all that sort of thing. Whereas you hear about, you know, so many people, oh no, I'm just like shifting to this place, and like, I haven't sussed a job, just crashing with a mate, blah, blah, blah. And then you hear about them 2 months later, I still haven't found anything. And you're like, bro, how are you living?
I know.
Like honestly, how? You know, how do you pay for everything? And just don't know how people do it. But for me, that's definitely a big thing. But massive tangent there. And in terms of figuring out what I wanted to do, it was between the big things like law and medicine and dentistry. Like being in the advanced academic program, that's like what everyone's plugging sort of thing. And it was kind of like you're definitely going to uni. And I was like, like I think I definitely will, like continued education, you know, like I definitely want to like push further than just a high school education and things like that. And never really like thought about the trades or anything like that. And so at first it was law. So I kind of set myself up in year 13 to go to Vic and do law. Like had an entrance scholarship, got into a good hall, all that sort of thing, and it was like, yep, sweet, that'll be cool, be relatively close to home. And then got given the opportunity to go to Thailand on this like gap year exchange to a place called Wachirawud College in the middle of Bangkok. Because it was like a sort of sister school with Palmy Boys.
Oh, right.
And so took that on, and ended up going there. Hard as it was, so tough, but awesome, like really good for me, kind of thing.
What were the tough aspects of it?
Oh mate, you're in the middle of Bangkok, like it's filthy there. You know, like dead bodies on the streets, and so many people living in poverty. There's a massive gap between the classes of people. You know, you have the super wealthy, a lot of them whose sons were at this school, because it was about $50,000 US to send your kid for a year to this school. Great kids, but you could just see the disparity between the two. And then like Bangkok is just hectic. Like anyone who's been there will know that. And you can basically live any kind of life you want if you've got enough money. There, you could be the bloody Wolf of Wall Street, but you know, in Bangkok, if you want to do that, you can be whatever you want. And it was awesome, but it was very confronting for an 18-year-old guy who basically hadn't gone much further than like Australia. And like I was like relatively sheltered, you know. Like I'd seen, you know, a bit of stuff growing up in Palmy and like being a like young Māori bloke, and we weren't like super well off as a family, especially like, initially, you know. So I'd had some pretty like rough mates and rough cousins and all that sort of stuff. I love the word rough. But yeah, like going over there, whole different thing. It was like, man, you know nothing. And it was like, you could walk around the corner and die. Over there. Yeah, so it was pretty full on. And being like at that time, the classic anxious kid, like same thing, thinking about the future and thinking about all the things that could go wrong. I was just like a nervous mess over there.
Was that for a full year?
Nah, I actually only ended up being there 3 months. Yeah, it was a real sort of mix-up kind of thing, because it was like, you guys will be going for 6 months, and then not long before we left, it was like, no, you're going for 9 months.
Okay.
And that uncertainty definitely got to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and especially when I had a girlfriend back here as well, who was like still at high school, and so that was a kind of like, I'm going for 6 months. Like it's pretty full on, but we can make it work long distance. Young love sort of thing. Yeah. And then not long before we leave, I spring it on her like, it's actually going to be 9 months. And I'm like, nah, it's sweet, it'll be cool. I'll make it work. And like, I'm going to have a good time. Blah blah blah. Go over there, miss her heaps, like struggle hard out, like have a shit time, end up coming back after 3 months. But I still look back at it and I'm like, nah, that just showed me so much and, taught me so much, that experience.
And then the main reflections, because I know like heaps of reflections, kind of lessons come to you like years and years down when you start experiencing new things. And so like something like that for a pretty like fresh 18-year-old going into it and just seeing all of that, like at the time you're probably like, okay, I just need to do what I can to survive, rather than thinking about like, this is so different to that and that's so different to that. So now looking back at it and then thinking about where you are, like what were for you the biggest things that you took away from it?
Ooh, to put it into like concepts is a pretty tough one. It is. I definitely still like the whole thing of preparation and like being aware of what you're going into and like protecting yourself and kind of planning. Yeah. Especially with like regards to travel. Like it's always been a big sort of thing for me listening to people who go traveling, and it's the same with like, just like I was saying about, I moved to a new place and haven't got a job, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's this, I'm just going to take a bag and backpack around, like Europe or something like that. And it's kind of like, you do hear these stories about all these people who go backpacking and then end up like with their heads cut off or something like that, eh? And it's like, that's like 1 in a million people, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, man, that can happen. And you go over to these environments and you see like how hostile they are, like it's not New Zealand. New Zealand is so cushy and cushioned. Like honestly, it's just ridiculous. Like people will feed you drugs and then cut you off and cut your organs out. Right. Like it honestly happens. And this is from being there and talking to people who have lived there and they've literally seen their mates just disappear one day.
Goodness gracious.
It does happen.
Yeah.
And it does kind of irk me when people are like, nah, I don't have a plan, I'm just going to go do this. And then you hear like terrible stories of like, I hadn't planned accommodation and I got in a car with some random dudes and rolled back to, God knows where, and luckily woke up in the morning and then, found my way and then ended up like finding some mates and whatnot. And you're like, man, that's luck. So you like just rode your way through a foreign country on luck, and it's definitely not me. Right. Yeah, definitely not me. So that was a big lesson.
And that's transferable to like everything in your life though.
Yeah.
By the sounds of things, you're like very like, okay, we sort this stuff out so that we can just like ride it as easily as possible.
Yeah, put it in the best way, like I'm probably pretty anal.
Sure.
About a lot of things. I do like to have a plan and be prepared. Like my mates say like, oh man, you love admin. And I'm like, yeah, I do love admin, because then I got a plan. I know where I'm going. Yeah. I know like I'm going on some trip, I'm staying in this hotel and I've already paid for it. And then, it doesn't matter like what we're doing there or anything. But it's just like, nah, like I know I have a place to go. I'm going to be safe, for the most part,
Yeah, you and I are quite similar in that vein. Like a lot of people who, like a lot of my friends who are a bit more on the like relaxed side and will just go with the flow, they like just honestly, they make me just sweat. I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's not even hot right now. But if we're going to go on a trip together, like I'm freaking out. I'm just like, well, what's going to happen? And they're like, just chill, bro. But little do they know, I've sorted everything, like all the back catalogue, so that when we get there, it's all done.
Exactly. You've already done it and you're just like, I know you're not going to do it, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah. And then, so you come back, and then you decide after that time off that you're going to come to Otago?
Yeah. So it was basically I came back and I basically had to call my parents and say I hate it here. Like I want to come home.
Yeah.
Like please bring me home. Which is pretty funny looking back at it. I'm like, you pussy. But at the time, it was definitely the right call. Because I just wasn't ready. And didn't feel safe. So their big thing was like, right, if you come back, you're not sitting on your ass, you're getting a job.
Yeah.
And little did they know, I'd already like sort of called back and like to my girlfriend at the time, because I'd always wanted to work for her parents in like their cafe or restaurant, because they own like they own Lone Star and Joe's Garage in Palmy. Yeah. And like lovely people, awesome people.
Yeah.
And so like called back and I was like, can they give me a chance? I will work my ass off. Like I'm not there to mess around. So went back, started working for them, and like worked for her mum at the cafe, and her mum very quickly put me into like a sort of like staff manager role. Yeah, because like I couldn't get my duty cert because it was, I'm going off
just
to
the
uni,
timing of it
sort
all.
Thing. Yeah, and the cost and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, like just put me forward, and she was like, thank you so much, like you're doing such an awesome job. And I was like, no, like I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. You know? And so that was really good, and it was like good to go back home. And then looking at uni, went for Vic again. I was like, okay, sweet, like it should be sweet to get scholarship again and set myself up. Pretty keen to go and do law and go and do that, because it was like do something big, become something. And then I'd had this thought since like year 13. About doing dentistry after like going on a school trip to Aussie and seeing a like dentistry teaching unit in a uni over there. Yeah. And I was like, man, that's actually sick. And obviously the health professions had always been in the back of my mind. It was like, awesome way to help people, like especially, just going and doing medicine, being a GP, being like Māori as well. Everyone's like, yeah, you should definitely do that. We need more like Māori doctors and dentists and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, that could be pretty awesome. And then saw dentistry and I was like, man, this is so hands-on and practical.
Sure.
And I really like that.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Legos when I was little. Bionicles as well. Yeah,
good old Bionicles.
OGs. And so I was like, yeah, that could actually be awesome doing dentistry. And so, kind of spur of the moment. I don't think there was too much time left to enroll. Yeah. But just enrolled, or applied for Otago, applied for Halso first year. Yeah. Applied to a hall, got into Arana. Yeah. And that was it. It was like, right, off to Dunedin.
And that came out of nowhere, because like from all of your choices prior was just like we got these things, and then Otago is just like
didn't know anything about Otago. You know, like just knew nothing about it. Knew bugger all about the South Island. Done one family trip around it, sort of thing, and passed through Dunedin. Went to the chocolate factory. That was about it. And it just sort of popped up. But I did have mates down here from school. Right. Yeah. So quite a few. Like a few were doing physio, a few were fetters. I kind of shot through to them. I was like, yo, bro, like what halls should I be applying for? Sure. Sort of thing. And like a lot of them had been to Arana. And were just like, yeah, bro, like apply for Arana. You should definitely get it. Like, it's such an awesome hall. Like, that sort of thing. And I didn't know, about the reputation of Arana, but apparently we're a bunch of cocky pricks.
Apparently, that's exactly what I found out. So the only reason I applied for it, because I was the same. I had no idea about Dunedin, and then I was looking at the names, and I was like, that's a Māori name. So I was like, I'm going to put that one down. Then we came down here, and then like on my first night, everyone's chanting against us. I was like, oh goodness.
Like, oh gosh, okay.
This is what I got myself into. This is so different. Oh, that's cool, bro. And then that's almost like, it's similar to the Thailand thing where you just like, I'm going to jump on something and just go do it and experience it, see how it goes. So you came into Health Sci. So I didn't even know that you did Health Sci for the first just first semester, first year. Whole first year.
Yep. So came down and did Health Sci, and then that sort of segued into my first degree because I failed epi. Okay. Basically due to laziness. Sure. Definitely not afraid to admit that now. Thought I knew it all, and it's just like, well done you, bro. Look what happened. But the rest of it went well. Did pretty decently well. So it was pretty gutting when that happened. Especially for the people who were supporting me. Sarona Fruin was oh my gosh, what's happening? Have you applied for a recount and all this sort of thing when I failed epi, because it was like I'd I hadn't made terms or something in the final exam,
right.
but I passed the paper.
Yeah, so you passed it, but you didn't quite make like the percentage that you needed.
Yeah, you needed like a 45
yeah.
in the final exam. I got like 43 or something, which is just shocking. Like, yeah, I look back at it now and I'm like, bro, you're a melt. but it is what it is. You know?
Yeah.
Like, it is what it was, and I did like find the other papers, and then I was just like, right, have to deal with it, you know, and that was one of my first sort of cases, like, right, I need to deal with this, and I really need to do it. Like after Thailand and being like, no, I need to go home. Yeah, it was kind of like right, I need to find something to do, because I know there's the postgraduate entry pathway, and you know, like being Māori, like I am lucky enough to have access to the Māori entry pathway as well. Yeah. So yeah, like basically just find something, do something. Yeah. And I was like, right, find something that interests me, and so I was like, sports and nutrition, because like basically started lifting. Sort of in my final year of high school, and like, you know, quite enjoyed it, and then just like enjoy sports, and I was like, yeah, like sports science would be mint, because I was already thinking about like sport medicine if I didn't make dentistry sort of thing. And so I was like, yeah, I'll go and do that. And then change the actual like degree, like the bachelor's I was doing like 2 or 3 times. Because I was like, oh, that's not quite right, and I want to add these papers. And so yeah, it was a bit of a mess. And then I think I'd already come back down here for like the week before Flow Week. Yeah. And Mum was like, look at this one, like the Bachelor of Applied Science, Sport and Exercise Nutrition. And it was just basically all the nutrition papers, and then PE papers aside from that. Yeah. And the PE papers were like the exercise prescription and like exercise physiology. That's and I was just like, bang, that is me. Like went and locked it in, and then had to go and talk to Hunt course coordinators to sort it out. And I said to them, look, in all honesty, like dentistry is my goal. Like I really want to get there, and I really don't want to be here for like the real awkward 3.5 years or longer or whatever. I was like, can we cram this into 3 years? And they just like looked at my grades from health sci and like, you know, talked to me, and they were like, yeah, you know what, we're happy to help you, sort of thing. So they just changed a couple of papers for me and said, yeah, you can do these instead. You'll have a pretty heavy workload in second year. And then third year won't be too bad, and you'll be doing these like this paper instead of this paper. Sure. But yeah, that'll like get you through, and we'll let you be done with that. Right. And that was it. It was like off. I had no idea. I always thought you came down to do nutrition, like that was your first thing, and then later on you're just like, actually, I'd like to do dentistry. I had no idea that like this is kind of a good epitome of having a purpose, and then knowing what it is that you want, and not like settling for anything else until you got there. So because you're in dentistry now and going through your degree, like when you have a goal, it's awesome to have that goal and to keep working towards it. But then when you realize like 3 years, like I only have 3 years, but 3 years, especially down here, like you're learning how to become a man. There's so many different things that have come into it, like social life, you have partners, they leave, you have different things that happen. Was there ever a time where you're just like, fuck, 3 years? Yeah. Oh, as in terms of like, that's a long time? Like, this is going to be longer and harder than I thought. Oh, hell yeah, man. Yeah. Like when I was looking at it there, I was like, wait, shit, if I get into dent, I'm signing up for, you know, like another 4 years on top of that. And like when you're, how old was I then? 19. You're like, oh my God, like this is terrible. Or like this is going to stretch out forever. But I was just telling myself, nah, this is what I'm going to do. Like I can do it. It's like within my grasp, I was just like, just keep going, you know, like just push through it and get into it. And then like once I did and like started learning what I was learning in the Hunt in the nutrition degree, it was great, and I like absolutely loved it. Like I look back at it now and I kind of say, oh, you know, in a way it was a little bit of just a space filler, you know, to get me into dent, which is my ultimate goal. But like I loved it, you know, absolutely loved it. And then from that, so now that you've gone in as a postgrad, have you noticed the difference between you and people who hadn't quite done like a degree before, like they could just came from health sci straight into going into? They're so fresh. Yeah, they're so fresh. Yeah, it's so funny, and like everyone in my class, so yeah, in the final year class for next year, just like awesome people, like such like wonderful. I can almost say kids, because some of them I am like 4 years older than. Yeah. You know, and like I'm bloody grey haired as well, and so they're literally like we've got like a big group chat, and I'm literally like kaumatua. Yeah. And it's just like, yeah, you know what? I'll take that. Like I am actually wiser than you guys most of the time.
Yeah.
But it's awesome as well, because you do just see so many different people, and that's the thing. Like I definitely wouldn't be someone to judge them off like just their age, and it's just like, oh, you're coming in here like you're 20, 21, like what do you know, blah blah blah. Like some of these 20, 21-year-olds like run rings around me academically,
sure,
you know, and then like some of them literally as well whilst they're studying dentistry. You know, they're incredible people. So yeah, like you, wherever you are, whatever group you're in, like if you just like keep your eyes open and be friendly, like you can meet some awesome people.
Yeah, and part of that, you know, it doesn't even matter where you're meeting these people, but if you meet anyone, I know you listened to the Jono Kumar, when he was on here, but he just keep reopening my eyes to the fact that anyone you meet, you'll learn something from them.
Yes, absolutely. And like I listened to that one especially because like I know Jono's on very similar wavelengths as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was great, you know, like it was listening to that, it was kind of like I was sitting here in the room just having a yarn with the boys, or, you know, like sitting down at Carver or like having a couple beers, like just at the flat chilling out. And yeah, it was awesome. But I like 100% agree with that. Like, you know, every single person you meet, you should be friendly to. And like I like basically try and live by the concept of being nice costs nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like even if that's just a smile, like you could be having the shittest day, dead tired, whatever. If you can like just smile at someone and try and turn your ears on and be receptive to what you're saying, that like you're at least attempting to be nice.
Yeah.
You know? And then you never know that person might spark up, you know, whatever energy is left in you for the day, and make your day that much better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know I've always been like that. Just like try to do something, and you know, there's always times where you're in you're struggling in that moment, and then the last thing you want to do is like be kind to someone. You're like, nah, it's going to take too much energy. But then you do it, and then it actually recharges you. You're like, fuck, that's all I needed to do.
Oh, exactly that as well, man. Yeah, like for me, it's definitely not something I can do to go out of my way to be mean to someone. Like, again, not trying to blow my own trumpet. I just like to think, you know, like I'm a nice guy because I try to be, you know, like whenever I meet someone new, I will shake their hand. Like it's one thing I do, and some people, I think some people are a little bit weirded out by it,
sure,
because it's kind of old school,
right? But
like I shake pretty much everyone's hand, and I'm like, oh, hi, I'm Ben, like nice to meet you, that sort of thing. And it's like, bro, those are the simple things. That's just what everybody should be doing.
I know.
Like you definitely don't want to be the guy standing in the corner at the party.
Oh, 100%.
Like just not meeting anyone, not expanding your horizons. You know, you can just like you say, you learn so much off everyone you meet.
Do you think we're getting too analytical then with like how we should interact socially?
Big time.
Because like we old school, like honestly, you go to school, and this just reminds every boy who was at a boys' school, and you just walk in every corridor. It's just like between every period, you're like, "Sup, bro?" Like handshakes to everyone, and that's the basics. Yeah. And then I came down here, like you do it on the first time you see each other, and then you'll go the week and you don't do it, and then you might see them in town that weekend, and then you handshake again. It's just like, what? Like this connection, what's happening?
Yeah, like what changed? Yeah, we've almost lost like some of that physicality sort of thing, in a way. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Yeah, it is quite strange, and it is different at uni though, because you meet so many different people.
That's
true. There's
how
many thousand people here at Otago, of, you know, like different cultures and ethnicities and upbringings and everything like that. You know, like some people you reach out to shake their hand, and you know they'll like touch your hand sort of thing, and kind of be like standoffish. And then others are like grip it and crush it, and it's just like, oh yep, sweet. You know? Like this is, you know, good dude, or maybe dickhead. You know, and that's the thing. You know, it's a great way to gauge people as well, like how engaging they're going to be in like this meeting sort of thing.
Yeah. Now I might have read this a little bit wrong in terms of like you and your persona, but would you describe yourself as a pretty sort of like the nice guy, but also pretty confident in who you are, or is that something that's kind of come with time?
Confident in who I am, definitely takes a lot of effort. You know? Yeah. I'm definitely one of those guys who basically does like kind of puts it on, or does put it on. I guess. Like I can be insecure as hell. And like I am every single day, because I'm my own worst critic. And that's 100%. Like listening to your podcast about how, you know, open and honest you are. You know, you're just like, I get anxious, you know, and like think about this, and I'm just like, oh, this is me. This is like the voice in my head right now from, you know, a really good dude on a podcast saying the same stuff, and so it's really relatable, which is why I love it. Like, love your guys' podcast. But I definitely have to put on the confidence, and it especially sucks when that gets kind of spat back at you as arrogance, which has happened to me a lot. I'm not sure if it's happened to you too. I wouldn't be surprised. And does get spat back at a lot of men as well, and with good reason. Like a lot of the time, like for me, a few times it's come from women, but that's understandable because like women do get run down by misogynistic asshole men and have been for generations, you know, which just ain't right. But also it's kind of like, man, I'm just trying really hard to like make my way, and like just because I'm being confident doesn't mean I'm trying to step over anyone or I think I'm better than anyone else. It's like I'm just trying to put myself out there so I can offer what I know and like offer my help and offer my knowledge and also be there and be present and engaging with people so I can learn off them. Like, again, it's the whole, you can learn something off everyone you meet. And it's like, right, so if I go in confident and approachable and happy, you know, like this person's, you know, going to be much more engaged, hopefully.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's better to do that than go in and be like quiet, like, oh, hey, yep, nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's like either way, you just like, if you're going to be your true self, which is like, okay, I'm not going to put into the effort into this, but I'm just going to be my true self, which means I'll probably be a little bit standoffish. People will look at you as like, oh, he thinks he's better than us. But then the same thing, if you try to put on that confidence, you're so busy putting that energy into like, okay, how am I coming across to other people, that you've lost that kind of the essence of yourself a little bit, and then people are like, oh, he thinks he's better than us. So like either way, you're always going to like, someone will take something away, and then it's funny because you'll probably had this conversation where people finally get to know you, and then they're just like, why do you hate yourself? Like, like everyone loves you. Why are you so harsh on yourself?
Yeah, why are you so hard on yourself? And it's like, well, like I just am, you know. So sometimes you're just like, oh, I just can't help it. But and it's also like like I really, like for me especially, I really want to learn from my mistakes because I don't want to make them again. 100%. It's that very like critical thinking of yourself. Like like I wouldn't say I'm terrified of making mistakes, but I know. Like I've made so many of them, you know, like had to do another degree because I failed epi because at that time I was too cocky. I was like, nah, this stuff's actually easy. Like I'm pretty sure I get it. It should be all good. Didn't get it enough, you know, and look what happened. You know, that's a massive amount of money on my student loan. Another like 2 years of my life. Look back and now, don't regret it at all. And it's like, student loan, interest free. You can work it off in your life, either that or you die and it's wiped anyway. But it's like, the mistakes, you know, like I've made when I make them, for me personally, I think they've been pretty bad, and I'm like, right, you know, I have to try and learn from my mistakes, but also have to be aware of what I'm doing so I don't continue to make them. Sort of thing.
Absolutely. And that's where I have a lot of, I guess, tensions with some people who, you know, from me years ago, and then they just like, oh, nah, he's a dick. Yeah. He did this. And I was like, what year was that? Yeah. And I was like, bro, it's literally almost been a decade since that happened. And I hated what I did then. And I've like tried to make amends. Yeah. And nothing's happening now.
Yeah. Oh, mate, that's a big thing that's like sort of pissed me off, like in terms of discovering about some people, is they can really hang on to shit. Oh, yeah. Like hang on to a grudge and hang on to resentment. And like we all do it, you know, and like we all struggle to let it go sometimes. But yeah, particular things, sometimes it's kind of like, if you ask that person now what they think about, like had an honest conversation with them, what they think about what they did previously, a lot of people would say, yeah, like I really regret that, like I am sorry, I hope you like can forgive me for, you know, however I wronged you. And I'm like, I try and definitely be one of those people. Like just can be like very apologetic, sometimes too much so, and turn myself into a bit of a doormat. Which has happened, and something I'm still trying to learn from and unlearn in a way. But I think that part is kind of missing, especially with people our age, is having those honest conversations and just going up to someone and being like, hey man, like I'm kind of, or like you run into them and you have some small talk and then you do have a chance for a deeper conversation and just being like, bro, I'm not gonna lie, like you're a fucking dick, like at this time back then. And then if they bring that up to you and you're kind of like, oh, so this is why we don't still have a friendship, or like why we've sort of drifted apart, you can be like, oh man, like I'm so sorry. Like, you're 100% right. I was a fucking dick, and I've thought about that for so long. As soon as you say that, it kind of switches it onto the other person, which can be a bit like frightening for them, because they're like, oh, now I feel like an asshole for bringing it up.
Yeah.
But that's how you resolve things. That's how you resolve a conflict is by confronting it.
And it's always interesting, because like when you do have those conversations, so say someone wronged you, or that person, like, or you had done something to that person, and they bring it up, and you're just like, I had no idea.
Yeah,
I'm like, honestly, now that I look at it, I'm so I didn't mean to do that, but in that time, I was just like, oh, okay, so you stopped talking to me, and because you never brought it up, we never got to solve it.
Yeah, either that, or it's like, fuck, I've been sweating for the past 12 months. Like, oh, what did I do wrong? Like, I'm so sad to have like lost this person, sort of thing, and like I don't know why. Like, I still don't understand, and you want like, more than anything for that person to just tell you. It's
Absolutely.
like, please just tell me, because I want to make it right. Yeah. Like, if you're that kind of person, of course, some people just brush it off, and they're like, nah, like whatever. If that's them, and they're mad at me about whatever about that, then that's their problem, kind of thing. And like, I'm not that kind of person. Like, I don't know how people do that, in all honesty. But at the same time, for some people, like that is how they live their life, and they still have like plenty of friends and great relationships and stuff like that. And like, not everyone has to be like a people person, or like an insecure dude like me who kind of has their like tries to get everyone to like him. But because he's like, no, I just want everyone to be happy, sort of thing. Like, I want to try and be happy to everyone.
100%. Like, it's a weird insecurity, because it's an insecurity where, like, people think you're insecure because you don't know much about yourself. But the thing is, we're actually hyper aware of everything that we do.
Overthinkers.
Like, we think about like how we deal with someone in that instance, and maybe they just walk away slightly different. The slightest little bit, and we notice it, and we're like, fuck, what did I say? Did I do something?
It's like, what did I do? Was my body language wrong? Did I say something wrong? Or it's just, are they okay? Like, what's going on with them? I really want to help. Yeah.
Which is, it's probably really, really important for what you're doing now, because you're like up in other people's mouths.
Yeah.
Like for your job.
Literally.
Okay? Yeah. For so you are actually like, there's quite an intimate barrier between yourself and whoever you're going to be dealing with in that. So, I mean, you do quite a bit of clinic, which I like about the health professional courses, is that it is very hands-on, and you're doing a lot with different people. What have you found has been like a very natural part of you because of your upbringing when you're actually dealing with those people?
Oh, honestly, like I've had all sorts of different patients, and it's kind of hard not to toot your own trumpet when you're like on a podcast talking about yourself. But like, I do think I'm quite good at dealing with people, and all sorts of different people. And like, I have had all sorts of different patients with different problems and different ideas about things, and again, from different backgrounds. And I like to think I've had, good experiences with all of them.
Sure.
And I've had to say goodbye to like my patients that some of them I've seen for the past like 3 years.
The regulars.
The regulars. And be like, hey, like, I'm shifting to Auckland, so I'm going to have to refer you on to probably one of my classmates for final year to, like, finish up your work, or either that, like, or we've finished up, but I won't be doing their checkup again next year, sort of thing. And I kind of just have to wish them well, and like, most of them have been like, oh, like, thank you so much, like, it's been great. And I'm just like, nah, like, it's great because you're great, you know, like, it's been awesome. So far I haven't had a negative experience with a patient, and I'm sure it will come. I'm sure it'll happen eventually. But so far it's been awesome, and I like to think it kind of shows me I'm meant to be here, you know, or like, at least I do fit in here. But because of my personality. And
with the limited experience you have had so far, like, besides the fulfilling fact that you're actually getting to help someone, has there been a moment where it like did give you that reminder that this is what you're here to do?
In terms of like practical
like
stuff,
like a particular moment, or like a couple of moments where you did a big reflection on everything that was going on, and you're just like, this is why I'm here.
There was one recently this year, which was having a few tutorials on what's called our oral surgery rotation.
Sure.
So we're like in the emergency clinics a bit more, and we're like pulling out teeth and that sort of thing. And like, I was pretty nervous before this week, because I was like, it's a completely different side of dentistry for us. Because like, honestly, for the most part, we're doing theoretical stuff, and talking about bonding and materials, and like different ceramics for crowns and stuff like that, like just all sorts, and pathology and stuff like that. But this time it was like talking about a few of those things, but then also talking about like how do we treat patients with all these different medical problems, and then how do you treat them in the chair, and often in like a bit more serious scenarios, like they've come in, they're in pretty bad pain sort of thing, like what do we do, how do we help them, how do we deal with them, and what do we need to keep in mind. And that was just awesome, like getting like great tutorials from people who aren't like regular teachers, but they're just like really knowledgeable, and just happen to know how to communicate really well. One being Daryl Tong, who's a maxillofacial surgeon down here, and he's just the best dude. And like absolutely wonderful guy. And he was just sort of teaching us all this stuff, and just had the perfect way to describe it, used like great analogies, and I'm just like, man, like that is awesome. Like this is exactly what I want to be here for. And then like also dealing with him, I was kind of like, man, I want to be like that guy. Like, he's so good. But then it was real funny because he's like, I'm actually a hard out introvert. Like he's so good. Whenever he takes us for a lecture, he's crack up. He's hard case. But then he's like, I'm a massive introvert. Like I've got myself a home gym because I don't like being around people like that much. And he's like, and I hate going to conferences because again, don't really like being around people and stuff like that. And that kind of shocked me because I was like, bro, but you're so good. But it was also, like awesome just getting information off him from, just this fountain of knowledge. And it being like, man, this has pieced so much together for me from all these lectures and whatnot. And then what I, still didn't know about dentistry and this side of dentistry. And so big moment this year for me, like that whole week. Just seeing that and being like, man, this is awesome. I love it.
That's cool, man. It speaks volumes to how much like passion can have on someone. So like just like that example there, but having a role model is also a really, really good thing. And then someone who is extremely passionate about something can just go in on it, and then just you realize later that was just a whole heap of passion in that fountain that you just saw there, and then you get to know them actually, and it's like, no, not until I'm passionate about something will I bring that sort of energy, which kind of, that means you're in the right place. And for you to pick up on that it's probably huge testament to how that person can communicate. And just on the communication, like we've just kind of been jiving big time, and it's almost like we never had those years apart, and we were just sitting down and catching up again. Has there been something, because what I've been trying to do recently is try to get more blokes involved with these sorts of conversations, because I can already see that you're quite like introspective. You do think about a lot of things, but I do have other mates who this is like the furthest thing from what they'd want to do. They're just like, they're happy dealing with what they're dealing with, and if they need help, like they may reach out. Is there something like, do you have a group of blokes that you're pretty good with this with, or has this been something that you've been trying to get more people involved with? I would say I definitely have a few mates who are like really good at this sort of thing, and they're just massive on the whole like men's mental health front, which has just like come to the forefront of, in a way, social culture, but in a good way, like in the past few years, and they're just massive on it, like talking all the time. And like I talk to them all the time, and they've helped me through some like rough shit, like this year and previously, and then vice versa. For them, I'm just like, man, like I'm here if you want to talk. For me, like for me personally, it's never really been a problem. I'm pretty bloody open. Like I'll tell anyone really anything if they ask, unless I'm like told by someone else not to. Sure. Because I'm just like, nah, honesty is the best policy, and most of the time I'm just like, I don't care. Like like why do I need to hide any secrets from anyone? But then I definitely have mates who struggle a bit more with opening up, but then it's real good when they do, and like I'm always happy to like lend an ear and like try and give some advice, and like hope that they take it, or at least like hope it helps in some way, or helps them think, that's kind of what I'm getting along, but actually like that sort of led me to this solution instead. Like I may not be right, but like if I can help someone in some small way, especially like a good mate, then like that's really good. Do you find that sharing your own, like how you struggle with things, helps quite a bit? It's one thing I try not to do too much. Like you got to strike that real fine balance. Like you want to be able to say, oh man, like
you know, like don't feel bad for going through something like this or for reaching out. Like this happened to me, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's one thing I try and do is keep it very brief if I mention something like that. Like, bro, and especially if that person has helped you in some way with that, mention it to them and be like, yeah, man, like you just listening when I was going through this, like, was awesome. So like, you know, I'm here for you, bro. Like whenever you need to say something like that, or like just need a vent or, you know, just spill it out. Yeah, it's always good to do, but yeah, you definitely don't want to catch yourself like harping on like, oh, like, bro, like, nah, come on, like this happened to me, blah blah blah, and like, I managed to get over it, so just go and do this. Because it's like anything, like especially good old bloody nutrition. No one thing works for everybody.
Exactly.
Know? Like you can't just say, oh, bro, like for me personally, oh, bro, I started running and that helped me get over some like serious anxiety and depression. You know, like. And you can't just say that to everyone, because some people might go running and hate it and it will never ever be their thing.
Exactly.
You know, like you've just got to say to them, man, exercise, you know, is like a great tool to use, like to help you if you're feeling down about something. It might even just clear your head up. Like it may not make, you know, these emotions go away or whatever, but man, like you've just got to do it, like to get your body running and stuff like that. Like and that's just one of the tools. And then, you know, other things, man, you could try this, like writing things down in a journal, or you know, like, or go and talk to a counselor, or go and do this. Just kind of like make suggestions.
Absolutely. Because once you start giving directions on how people should be, and then say they do it and it doesn't quite work for them, they're just like, oh, it's because I'm a fucking failure. Like,
exactly. Yeah, they're going, oh man, like I tried running, bro, but I'm just like so shit. And then comparison can come into it, and that's just going to make someone feel worse. You know? And as much as you might tell someone like, no, don't compare yourself to me or that person. Like you just do your thing. It's a hard thing to start.
100%.
You know, like it can take people years. Like even me, you know, still working on that. Like, you know, don't compare yourself to that person, or don't try and like live up to that person's expectations. Live up to your own. You know, and it's a hard thing to get across to people. But if you keep helping them along, eventually, hopefully they'll get it.
For sure. And I think if people have like hold particular people in high esteem, like that's just what I found out over the last couple of podcasts, is that people just always thought like, man, I never knew like you had this stuff going on in your head. And like, but you're you. And I'm just like, exactly.
Yeah. It's
but
like, that's what
we
it
all
is.
go through it. Like
it
happens to everyone. So the fact that like someone who, like I said with you, if we just talk about it, he's so confident, he's so like all of these different really, really good attributes. But if you are starting to say like you go through this as well, other people are just being like, well, okay, I'm not weird for thinking that this is how, like, I'm not weird for feeling this way. Like everyone goes through it at some point.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. And that's like another reason why I like try and be like quite open and honest with people, like without, you know, like trying to ask for sympathy or pity or anything like that. Like I will happily like sit here and say, man, like and in all honesty, this week, like the past 2 or 3 mornings, I've woken up and felt like absolute shit. Like I've, you know, just been like, oh, like what the fuck's going on, like with my life? Like I'm about to move to Auckland, it's going to be shit, it's going to fall apart, blah, blah, blah. And then, normally it takes like, I just have to get myself up out of bed, go to work, you know, have a good time and like switch the brain off a little bit, honestly, because it's the good old overthinking, just talking too much in your own head. And then go and do some exercise. Go for a run, go to the gym. And then again, you feel a lot better, and you just realize like, man, once I start moving and my brain shuts up a little bit, it's not that bad. It's nowhere near. And that's the thing. It's normally like when I get to the gym, I've got some good tunes going and feeling good. Like you see that like froth for life coming out, and I'm just like, I am frothing it. It's like, far out. I'm lucky to have woken up.
100%. And that's just like, as soon as your brain starts working and the gang gets together, like, oh, you suck at this, or but like everyone just going off in your head, when you can, that's like you either being in the future or being in the past. But like you said there, when you get your headphones in and you're like listening to the song that's in your ears playing at that moment, you're there. Like that's you there, probably doing some chest or arms.
I knew that was coming.
It was going to come up at some point, but no. Because like I said, if you're at the gym and then you see you at the gym every single time, you just seem like there's no other place you'd rather be in that moment. You're just so like dialed in and so happy as well. And like you're the type of guy, I remember when we were training you for CrossFit, who like in the middle of the worst possible workouts, you're just like still singing songs.
Yeah.
Like the song will be playing.
Good
and you're
song
singing.
comes on. Yeah, I'll sing along. I'll like sing the lyrics. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's just like no shame sort of thing. And then sometimes it is because I'm just in utter pain. You know? And I'm just like, this sucks. Like I am blowing ass. I feel so unfit and all of that. And I'm like, shut up, man. And then just start like singing along to the bloody Rage Against the Machine or whatever's going. And it's just like keep going. And then you get to the end of it and you're like, hell yeah. Like that hurt like hell. But here I am at the end of it. I'm not dead.
Yeah.
So it's great. Yeah. And it's a good way to test your limits and start to learn your limits as well, is being like that. And like still again another thing, like I'm sort of just have learnt this year and am still learning. But like definitely a big one. Something you need to do.
For sure. Now I'm just going to switch gears a little bit before we get into our final question, but this is more to do with, you brought it up a couple of times, like being the big brown kid, but also just being Māori and all of these different opportunities that comes with that. But then also just like as a personal journey through all of that. I remember maybe it was like a few years ago, but I think you were like at your marae and stuff. So you're pretty in touch with all of that. But then coming down here and having to kind of not re-identify or reimagine, but just, being aware that is part of who you are, and then like connecting with that and then not connecting at some points, like how has that kind of fit into the overall journey?
Oh, bro, yeah. Like it's funny you say that I am like in touch with that, because to me personally, I'm like, man, I'm not at all.
Sure.
And it is one thing that I am like pretty. I don't want to say sad about, because it's an ongoing thing, and I'm like, nah, like I can continue to learn more like about myself as like a Māori person and a Māori man, and learn more about my culture like continuously, and hopefully I can like make the time to do this, especially like learning the reo, like because I know next to none at the moment, which like it is a big kind of almost a shame thing for me. I'm like, man, like I should know this, like I want to know this, and at some point it is just going to have to be like, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to learn it, and just commit super hard to it, and then in terms of being in touch with my culture, like I wasn't for so long, didn't really know it at all, like only sort of started learning my whakapapa not long before I got my tāmoko,
right,
and like that was a big thing for my dad, and like because he'd never really taught it to us, and then had like mum and dad had never really pushed it, or like mum wanted to, but kind of needed dad to do it, and then he didn't, which I know kind of pissed her off. But also it's become a bigger thing for our family now, to sort of learn about where we come from, and that sort of thing, especially now that all of us boys, like me, my brother and my dad, all have our tāmoko done. It's been like, right now we know our whakapapa a lot better now, so we do know where we come from. We may not know a huge amount about it just yet, but we can keep learning. We've got a starting point and we can just build on that foundation. And then like coming down here, that's been a big part of it, especially being involved with like the Māori Health Workforce Development Unit. I think I got that right. But those guys obviously push like tikanga Māori and being a part of the Māori culture, and like developing just Māori people in general, which has been awesome. And I've just been like, yes, this is exactly what I want to be doing, what I want to be a part of, and what we all should be doing. Just like building each other up, because Māori have been disenfranchised and like beaten down, and we suffer, terrible health consequences, basically because of colonization. Like, I'm gonna say it, and like, I know a lot of my white mates, so I would be like, oh, bloody harping on about it. It's like, bro, it was only a couple generations ago, and you fucked us. Seriously. So pull your head in and stay in your lane.
100%, man.
But in terms of like the whole Māori thing with my journey, it's just almost become more and more as I've gone through. I've been like, nah, like I need to be involved like with the rōpū. Like I got involved with Te Rōpū Pūtaiao when I was
back in sciences,
back in sciences. So I was the Kai Whakahaere, the general officer.
That's
for them.
right, I remember that year.
Which was really cool, and it was my first start. And to be honest, like I felt like I did a shit job, and I may have, if you ask some people. But like, it was kind of like my first attempt, and it definitely did help me, and was kind of like, right, like if I want to be a part, I should work harder, you know. And then I've just always been a member of Ngā Mokai, like coming through dent school, and have absolutely loved that, you know, and have always tried to support them in any way I can possible. Whether that's like turning up to events or like speaking to, you know, future potential dental students, like health sci first years, or even the ones coming, I can't remember what the program's called, like from high school. Like the intro weeks and things like that, like doing that, and it's just like, like I want these guys to see like how great it is, and then how great of a community we have of Māori students in dentistry, and then just in the uni in general.
And that you can be proud of yourself and still be super good at other stuff that people say are like not for Māori, but like you're good for Māori, and it's like no, I'm good and I'm Māori.
Exactly. I love that, man. It's like, no, I'm good and I'm Māori. But in terms of like the being Māori, it comes back to that whole having the arrogance thing thrown back at you. That's happened. Like being the big brown guy who walks in and like just exudes confidence, like in the clinic sort of thing, because like I'm not afraid to go ask questions, even if they are super dumb. I'm just like, what does this thing actually do? Or like, what is this little instrument for? Sort of thing. And I'm just like, well, if I don't ask, I won't know.
Exactly.
And then it's real funny because you get the classic, many other people like are thinking the same question but won't ask it. Then I've had a few times like I'll ask a dumbass question and the tutor or whatever look at me like, that's for this, like it does this, like you guys should know that, and I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't know that, but thank you for telling me. Give them a little bit of sass. It's just like, don't talk me down, bro, come on. And then other people come up to you after the class and they're like, that was such a good question, bro, because I didn't know either, like thank you so much for asking. And it's just like, that's why you should keep doing it, even if you're terrified. And sometimes I am. I'm just like, I know this tutor will probably look me up and down, rip me to shreds when I ask this dumbass question, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
You'd rather do that, ask, and then know for next time, rather than have a whole group of you just standing there like, I don't know. And then you like walk back over to start doing a task, and then everyone's like, what are we actually doing? And it's like, why didn't you guys ask questions? Every single time. And it's probably like a little bit of the maturity, but also just knowing that like you're trying to get the most out of every encounter that you're part of it.
That was definitely a big thing I got from doing a first degree, coming in as a postgrad. Was like, I would like to say some maturity. A lot of people sound pretty immature, and I most definitely can be. But in terms of in that setting, especially learning setting, I like to think, I'd like take those opportunities that normally people would say about a mature student. I'm like, ask questions, do these sorts of things, you know, so you do get the most out of those learning opportunities. And then, I like to be like that, because then oftentimes it's like, then you have a chance to relay that on and help out your peers as well, you know, because like you don't want to see anyone struggling and floundering, you know, because it sucks, and it's just like, man, what if that was me and I'm sitting there getting grilled and I don't know the answer, but someone next to me does, and they don't speak up. It's like, nah, like you help them out, and you're just like, nah, like I know you're smart because I'm your classmate, and I know you know this deep down or something, or you've just missed it, and it's like, right, we can all help each other along.
I've always thought that about like knowledge and different things, and like holding it to yourself, like it doesn't really serve anyone, because there may never be an opportunity for you to display that you know that knowledge. But if you had helped someone else with it, they might have an opportunity to then either relay it onto someone else, or they can actually execute it when it comes that time. We need to stop thinking that we need to be in competition with one another.
And it's that it's the classic Kiwi thing of how bad we have it's tall poppy. Man, it's shocking. And it's like, there's another, like in my first degree, I was the guy who answered questions. Like I don't know if we had any classes.
We would have a couple of classes in our third year.
Which one would it be?
We were in a prescription together.
Yes, and that's the thing. It's like when you're sitting there and the lecturer's waiting for an answer. If you know the answer or you have an idea, just belt it out. Like man, the amount of times I have belted out an answer because we've been waiting for the past minute and a half for someone to say something, and I've been wrong. And I've been like, nope, that's not it, and like that's it. I'm just like, oh shit. But at least it's like, I said something. And then normally someone who's not quite as confident but knows the answer will be like, like I think it's this, or oh, is it this? And then it's like, yes, well done. That person gets a boost for being right. You get corrected, that you get the right answer this time, and then the lecture carries on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like, man, no one wants to sit here.
It can go for ages of everyone just sitting there, and at least 20 people know the answer, but no one wants to say anything, and it's because they're scared of getting it wrong, because everyone else will be like, this person thinks they know everything, and if I get it wrong, then I am dumb.
Oh, bro, yeah, nutrition. Everyone's like, so many people knew me. Like, we didn't have much interaction with our classmates in nutrition, but then when we finally had an event or something like that, they'd be like, yeah, I know you're Ben, like you answer all the questions in class. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, I don't know who you are, but like, yeah, that's me.
That'll be me.
Feel like a dick, but oftentimes a lot of people will react positively and be like, nah, like it's great, like it seems like you know so much, and it's like, nah, man, like I just think someone has to say something, and blah, 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 and I know there's plenty more people who are smarter than me.
Absolutely. And I'm exactly the same, where I just try to give everyone the best opportunity to, like, for all of us to excel as much as possible.
Big time.
And one thing I've noticed, so before we do get into the final question, because I just needed to say this to you, but one thing I've noticed about you is that you are actually like a person on the ground doing what you're saying throughout this podcast. So you're not one of those people who share stories and that's about you. Like, you're not an Instagram platform. Like, you are just Ben doing your thing around the place, and like, you gas people up, like, big time. You'll go tell someone that they're doing well, or like that you've liked something of theirs. But you're doing it in real time to people. You're getting that social connection. And like, I do it all the time as well. I just try to let people know if things are going well, it's going well. And like, it literally doesn't take much for you to have to do that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I'm just like, why wouldn't you? You know? Like gas your mates up. Like, I love Joe Damon. Like, take it, Joey D.
Joey D.
Like, superb comedian. And his thing was fuck humble. And also, like, gas the boys up. I know his thing was particularly like for men, for guys, because like oftentimes we do get like talked down because of the whole arrogance thing, and then the whole misogynistic culture that like we do sort of come from, and like sort of Western civilization.
Sure.
But yeah, also because like men's mental health is such a bad problem, and that's the thing. It's like, no, we need to be able to help each other, be proud of ourselves, and be able to celebrate our successes, or just even celebrate the hard work we are putting in to get towards some success. Without becoming arrogant assholes about it or anything like that. But get into it, and then like Izzy Adesanya is another one.
That's right. His acceptance
speech was magnificent, and anyone who like continues to be like, nah, he's just an arrogant cunt. It's like, bro, what is he? Welterweight? Lightweight?
He's the champ.
He's the champ. And still. And
he's actually regarded in the UFC as like one of the greatest just of all time stylistically. I'm like, he was obviously the style bender, but at the same time, like, you watch him in different interviews and he's so down to earth. He's just super humble.
Oh, he is. That's the thing. Like he is humble, but he will just be honest. And he'll be like, nah, man, like I smoked this guy, or like I'm good at this. But then no, he is like another guy who will just like gas up other people as well. Will happily sit there and not talk about himself at all. And will could talk about other people and be like, man, they are amazing at what they do. You know, like their success is unreal, or like, even if they haven't succeeded, like, man, I know how hard this person works, that sort of thing. And like, so many more people, do need to be like that. And like, I try and make that part of my personality, because like, I love my friends, like the ones I'm super, super close with. And then the ones that like I see at the gym and around every now and again, I'm just like, man, like, what you're doing is awesome. If people are putting themselves out there, like, yourself doing a podcast, I'm like, bro, that's sick. Like, you're having some awesome conversations with awesome people, and doing a great job of it. Like, I love it. Chuck it on, sit there, and it feels like I'm in the room.
That's cool, man.
It's great.
That's unreal. No, that's sick. So now we talk about the froth of light. So this is before we get into the final question that I ask everyone, but you seem like someone who, summer is basically here. We're almost going to go into New Year's by the time you're listening to this. Do you have, because I was thinking about this the other day and I don't have one yet, but what is your current summer anthem?
Oh, summer anthem.
So one that's just like every time you put it on and it's just like, yeah, we're here.
Oh, That is a tough one. That kicks off summer. Shit. I'd probably have to listen to like a classic Duke Dumont throwback.
Sure.
Like one of those, or maybe a Kygo. Yeah, like something that I haven't listened to in a while, but was like a classic, was like a big summer tune.
Yeah,
a few
brings you
years
back to those times.
Sort of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. But at the moment, because I am just on the froth for life and like just keen as to get to New Year's and like have some fun like with my mates and that sort of thing. I'm currently loving Turning Back by Lee Matthews.
Sure.
Yeah, big on those boys. It's a couple years old, but yeah, like superb gym tune and an absolute duff like hectic tune. But I love it, and like you play that for me on my shittest morning, 3 hours sleep, I'll be like, what are we up to? Let's go. Like, we're into it. We're on here.
No, I'm gonna have to check that one out because I'm still struggling to find one like that, one that just makes me feel like we're in the zone right now.
Also, it has to be Darude Sandstorm.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I mean, it would be rude
if you can't get up to that, then maybe you do need some help.
That's how last resort. Sweet. And then the final question that I ask everyone on the podcast so that someone can have, I mean, there are plenty during this entire thing, but a tangible takeaway that other people can maybe implement into their lives or just a daily routine type of thing. What is something that you try to do close to every day that makes you feel like you have optimized the day or it actually puts you in a better position?
Exercise.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to say that it's probably exercise, and then recently literally just saying myself, man, you are lucky to be alive. You know? Because like no matter how shit a day is going, you know, and again, like I'm happy to sit here and say I've had some shit days. Like very recently, earlier this year, that sort of thing. Like when you stop and say to yourself, man, I'm lucky to be alive, and sort of think about that, even if what pops into your head is like a World Vision ad, like it is, you know, maybe terrible and cliche as that is, it's kind of like, man, you are, you know, like, especially if you're someone who like I know and lives here in New Zealand, has a roof over their head and has a degree and a job and all that sort of thing. It's like, man, we're very lucky, and then we're very lucky to be living life and be able to like take on challenges and have success every day. Yeah. And then other than that, exercise. Like honestly, I lose the plot if I don't exercise. And it is just horrendous. Like I definitely have struggled with like anxiety and being depressed. I don't want to say depression because never gone and got diagnosed or anything. And everyone goes through, you know, being depressed at some point, I would say. Very lucky if you haven't. But yeah, like I just think you have to exercise. You know, it just makes your outlook on life so much better. And like the best one I had was going for a run yesterday and like pushing myself after my brain being like a bit too active for the day, thinking about real dumb stuff, like just going over and over real dumb shit that I shouldn't be thinking about and should have no effect on my life right now, but it just does. And then I go for that run, and then I'm like pushing myself pretty hard, like trying to get a good pace going, and then all of a sudden my brain has shut up, and all I'm thinking about is, oh shit, I've got a stitch coming on, and okay, my breathing tempo is going to be like 2 in 1 out here. I need to get up on my toes more. I can feel my heels landing a bit too heavily, or my knees caving in. I need to like watch that, like watch getting tired. And then, like all of that sort of stuff. And then even when you like finish the run, or while you're on the run and you like hit a sort of second wind and you have a point where you can think and you're just humming along pretty well, you're like, man, why the fuck was I focused on? Was I focused on this dumb shit all day, like in my head, running that through my head? It's like, man, like, stop being an idiot. Like, just let it go. Like, either let that go, or like, here's the solution, or like, no, we're gonna come up with one, or something like that. Either that, or sometimes it is just telling your brain to shut up. You know, like being the master of your mind, as good old Dave Goggins, who's a hero of mine, says, like you are the master of your mind, and like and your emotions and things like that. So, you just got to do it. And I have found, for me personally, exercise is the best way to do it. Whether that's running or going and tossing some tin, or whatever you want to do, or yoga. Like, have a newfound appreciation for yoga. It's actually dope. Makes your body feel great. stretching's always good.
Yeah.
Yep. Just do something.
Yeah, just anything that can like take your mind away from whatever thoughts you were having and just actually being in touch with your body and like whatever it is you're doing. And just on that, so you mentioned David Goggins. I was starting running maybe like 2 years ago and his book had just come out. So I got the physical and I got the audio book.
Nice.
And I'd basically just like listen to the book as I'd go running and then you just be like, yeah, you can't hurt me.
Yeah.
Like just talking to myself. Like
massively.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Like he's been massive for me. Honestly, like earlier this year, like his stuff and then also, the help of good friends and family, like brought me back from the brink, like rock bottom, earlier this year. Like after a real ugly breakup, and then like coming back down here, feeling pretty shit, and then like lockdown happening and all that sort of thing. But yeah, like rock bottom. Yeah, this is after like honestly thinking of like veering off my bike in front of a truck kind of stuff, and I told my parents that recently. I was like, like being in a bad space, bad relationship, not the right place, like feeling bad, wanting to do that sort of thing, and then like coming out of it and having a guy like Dave Goggins who is very inspiring and things like that, but basically someone just to show you, like this isn't you. This doesn't have to be you. You can change this story like right now. And then especially going and doing something like running and like, man, like you look at me, I'm 100 kegs, like and not like super shredded or anything like that. And if you told me even a year ago, that I was gonna be like, training up for running and like looking towards a like decent run and then spontaneously sign up for 3 peaks and go and do that, like 27 Ks a trail, and fuck me, it was hard. But if you told me like, you're going to be doing that, I would have been like, you're taking the piss.
Yeah.
Like there's no way I'm going to do that. Like I couldn't do that. And then now, like again, having that motivation from, having a guy who says, you can get through it. Yeah. Like, just keep going. Like, what is it? His 40% or 60%?
You talking about
in terms of the effort? Yeah. Another big one. It's just like you have so much more. And like I mentioned earlier about pushing your limits and things like that. I'm still trying to do that every run I go for. Like trying to do that. And man, we just really don't know how far we can go until we keep pushing and pushing. And whether that takes years of practice to do, and then you look back and it's like 5 years ago, I'm running 5-minute 30s over 5K and struggling, and then now I'm running ultra marathons sort of thing, which is where I would love to be.
Sure.
Or whether it takes you, a couple of months to be like, no, I'm going to do this, and then all of a sudden, you're in the SAS or whatever. Like it's just what you got to do. Yeah. So do that exercise, have that motivation. Especially David Goggins, highly recommended to everyone. Yeah. And like just push yourself.
That's cool, man. I think that's a really, really good place to leave it, and it's an awesome message for everyone to take away. And I think that applies to nearly everything in your life. It doesn't have to be a run, but it could be even like you're doing, making sure that you're pushing yourself academically and in terms of your service to community, but even with your own journey. So Ben, man, it's been a pleasure having you on. And the last one for 2020. So you're the last guest spot for this year. And I think that's the best way to take us out, man. Like, we know where we are, we know where we want to go, and we know the sorts of effort that we have to do to get to that spot. So thank you so much, brother.
Hey, no worries,
bro. Really
yeah,
appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And like stoked to actually come on here and like be a part of it, because man, I've seen like some of the people you've had on, they've been amazing. Like yourself, bro, like you are a guy I look up to, not just because you're massive and jacked as, but also because of what you're doing, and especially your involvement in the community and things like that. Like, yes, this is me gassing you up.
Yeah, boy.
But like it's awesome, bro. Like love what you fellas are doing, and like can't wait to see where it goes.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much.